July 4th, 1954, the best football team in the world walked into the rain in Bern. Hungary had not lost an international match in more than 4 years. It had won Olympic gold, humiliated England at Wembley, and scored 25 goals in 4 games at this World Cup. 8 days earlier, it had beaten West Germany 8-3. The final looked less like a contest than a coronation. After 8 minutes, Hungary led 2-0. After 18, the score was 2-2. Then the rain thickened, the field softened, and a match everyone thought they understood began writing a different ending. 6 minutes from time, Helmut Rahn received the ball near the edge of the penalty area. His left foot would change the German history and leave Hungary asking the same question for generations. How could the greatest team of its age fail on the one afternoon that mattered most? But the miracle of Bern was not only a miracle, it was preparation, tactics, weather, technology, politics, fatigue, and the cruelty of a single elimination tournament. To understand the final, we have to understand the machine that arrived before it. The 5th World Cup returned the tournament to Europe for the first time since 1938. Switzerland was neutral, geographically compact, and home to FIFA. The tournament also marked FIFA's 50th anniversary. 6 cities staged matches: Basel, Bern, Geneva, Lausanne, Lugano, and Zurich. At the Wankdorf Stadium, capacity was increased for a final expected to draw more than 60,000 people. Europe was rebuilding, but it was not politically whole. Germany had become 2 states. West Germany had returned to FIFA competition with help from the Swiss Football Association, while East Germany entered international football separately. The Saar Protectorate even competed against West Germany during qualification. Football did not erase the map created after the war. It made that map visible. The medium was changing too. Switzerland 1954 became the first World Cup broadcast live on television. The audience remained concentrated in Europe, and most fans still followed by radio. But football could now enter homes as moving pictures. FIFA was no longer organizing only a tournament inside stadiums. It was beginning to organize a global screen event. Switzerland's preparation matched that compact ambition. Rail connections made it possible to move teams, journalists, and supporters quickly between cities. The Wankdorf was expanded rather than replaced by a monumental new arena. The host presented efficiency as spectacle: mountain scenery, orderly transport, and stadiums close enough for a tournament to feel connected. It was a different statement from Brazil's enormous Maracanã. Switzerland did not try to overpower the World Cup with scale. It tried to prove that organization itself could be modern. Another European institution was born during the tournament. Representatives of national associations met in Basel on June 15, 1954, and founded UEFA. The World Cup was therefore both competition and political marketplace, a place where administrators could build the structures that would later govern continental football. FIFA's tournament was helping create an entire industry around the game. Hungary arrived as more than the favorite. It appeared to be the future. Coach Gustav Sebes built a national side around players concentrated at Army Club, Honved, and state-supported institutions. Repeated training created combinations that looked instinctive because they had been rehearsed until everyone understood the next movement. The shape was revolutionary. Nandor Hidakuti wore the center forward's number but dropped into midfield, pulling defenders away from their line. Ferenc Puskas attacked the space that opened. Sandor Koksis arrived in the penalty area with extraordinary timing. Josef Bozic controlled possession, while goalkeeper Gyula Grosic moved beyond the traditional goalkeeping zone and helped begin attacks. Elements that now feel normal were destabilizing in 1954. Koksis was called the man with the golden head, but the nickname can hide how complete he was. He did not wait beside defenders for crosses. He moved away from the penalty area combined with Hidakuti then accelerated back into the space his movement had helped create. His 11 goals in Switzerland included 2 hat tricks and 4 against West Germany. Puskas attracted the cameras. Puskas became the tournament's most relentless finisher. In November 1953, Hungary became the first overseas team to defeat England at Wembley, winning 6-3. In Budapest the following May, it won 7-1. Puskas, the galloping major, was the public face, but Hungary's superiority came from collective movement. Between May 1950 and the World Cup final, the team went unbeaten. It carried Olympic gold and the confidence of a country whose communist government understood the propaganda value of sporting excellence. The tournament format was almost as experimental as Hungary. 16 teams were divided into 4 groups, but this was not a complete round-robin. Each group contained 2 seeded and 2 unseeded teams. Seeded teams played only unseeded teams. The 2 seeds did not meet each other, and neither did the 2 unseeded teams. Some countries could advance without facing half their group. Matches level after 90 minutes went to extra time, even in the group stage. If teams finished tied for second place, goal difference did not separate them. They played another match. Switzerland therefore played Italy twice, and West Germany played Turkey twice, while other possible group fixtures never happened. The system created extra drama and obvious imbalance, and FIFA abandoned it after this tournament. The seedings themselves produced confusion. They were selected before qualification had finished, so when seeded Spain failed to qualify, Turkey inherited its position. West Germany entered as unseeded despite possessing a stronger side. Competitive design was not a neutral background. It changed who met, who rested, and which route became available. FIFA was still learning that a tournament format can create its own politics. The bracket had another twist. Group winners were placed on one side of the knockout draw, and runners-up on the other. That meant powerful teams could eliminate each other before the final, while second-place teams had a clearer path. West Germany would learn how to use the structure. Hungary would pay for winning through it. Switzerland 1954 became the most explosive World Cup ever played. 140 goals arrived in 26 matches, an average of 5.38 per game, still the competition record. The group stage alone produced 92 goals and 8 hat tricks. Korea Republic became the second Asian team to appear at a World Cup. Its players crossed continents with limited preparation and entered directly against Hungary, losing 9-0, then lost 7-0 to Turkey. Those results are easy to present as humiliation. They also reveal the unequal infrastructure of a tournament calling itself global. European teams traveled short distances through Switzerland. Korea's squad reached a different football world with little time to adjust. Elsewhere, England and Belgium drew 4-4 after extra time. Brazil beat Mexico 5-0. Uruguay, defending champion, defeated Scotland 7-0. The tactical balance favored attackers, substitutions were not allowed, and exhausted defenders could not be replaced. The scoreboard became part of the spectacle television was learning to sell. The tournament also exposed football's uneven global map. 16 teams participated, but only Korea Republic came from Asia, and none came from Africa. South America's representatives remained powerful, while European teams occupied most places and every host venue. The phrase World Cup described an aspiration more fully than a balanced field. Korea's presence mattered because it made the distance visible, even when the results were severe. Hungary met West Germany in Basel. German coach Sepp Herberger changed much of the team that had beaten Turkey. He knew the format could force a playoff and did not treat first place as essential. The decision has often been described as a deliberate sacrifice: protect key players, study Hungary, and take the longer route. It was a gamble, not proof that Germany planned an 8-3 defeat. Hungary scored freely. Puskas struck 4, Hidekuti 2, and Puskas 1. But the most consequential moment was not a goal. German defender Werner Liebrich challenged Puskas, injuring the Hungarian captain's ankle. In an era without substitutions, Puskas remained on the field but missed the quarterfinal and semifinal. He would return for the final without full mobility. West Germany then defeated Turkey 7-2 in a playoff and advanced as group runner-up. Hungary advanced as winner. Because of the bracket, the favorite now faced Brazil and potentially Uruguay. Germany's side faced Yugoslavia and Austria. One team had won the group, the other had found the better road. Herberger also gained information no training session could provide. He saw which German defenders were pulled out by Hidekuti, how quickly Puskas attacked the left channel, and where Hungary became vulnerable when its fullbacks advanced. The rematch would not begin at 0. Hungary carried the psychological advantage of 5 goals. Germany carried a detailed record of what 5 goals had exposed. Switzerland reached the quarterfinals by beating Italy for a second time. Its reward was Austria in Lausanne, in heat approaching 40 degrees Celsius. Switzerland scored 3 times in the opening 19 minutes. Austria goalkeeper Kurt Schmid was suffering from sunstroke, but substitutions were forbidden. He stayed in goal, dazed, while a team attendant tried to guide and cool him. Then the match accelerated beyond reason. Austria scored 5 goals in 9 minutes. Switzerland pulled 1 back before halftime. The score after 45 minutes was Austria 5, Switzerland 4, 9 goals in 1 half, another World Cup record. Theodor Wagner completed a hat trick. Josef Hugi completed 1 for the host. Eric Probst scored the final goal in the 76th minute. Austria won 7-5. It remains the highest scoring match in World Cup history. For Switzerland, the tournament ended at home in the most Swiss 1954 way possible, not with cautious neutrality but with 12 goals, heat stroke, and a scoreboard that looked misprinted. Hungary's quarterfinal against Brazil should have been a showcase of attacking football. Puskas was absent, but Coxes, Hidekuti, Cibor, Jalma Santos, Julinho, and Nilton Santos offered more than enough talent. Instead, rain, provocation, and weak control turned the match into the Battle of Bern. Hungary led 2-0 inside 7 minutes. Jalma Santos scored a penalty for Brazil, and Mihaly Lantos answered with another for Hungary. English referee Arthur Ellis sent off 3 players, Joseph Bozic, Nilton Santos, and Humberto. Coxes scored twice and Hungary won 4-2. The violence continued after the whistle, with players and officials clashing near the dressing rooms. FIFA's own retrospective describes the match as descending into unfriendly scenes and a post-match fight. The match complicates every romantic story about the Golden Team. Hungary was brilliant, but it was not untouched by anger or political pressure. Brazil was rebuilding after 1950 and carried its own desperation. Football can unite people. It can also concentrate fear, nationalism, and grievance inside 90 minutes. Brazil's elimination also closed one chapter from episode 4. The national team had changed from white shirts to the yellow design that would become iconic, but color could not instantly remove the weight of the Maracana. Against Hungary, Brazil met another nation using football as proof of modern identity. The result was not simply South American flair against European systems. It was 2 anxious projects colliding in bad weather. Uruguay entered the semifinal, having never lost a World Cup match. It had won every tournament it entered, 1930 and 1950. Against Hungary in Lausanne, that history was tested without Puskas, and with Hungary carrying the physical cost of Brazil. Hungary led 2-0 through Cibor and Hidekuti. Uruguay responded through Juan Hoberg, who scored twice and forced extra time. Hoberg reportedly collapsed after the equalizer and was revived to continue. With substitutions still unavailable, the semifinal became an endurance contest. Coxes then scored 2 headers in extra time. Hungary won 4-2, Its 27th goal of the tournament would come in the final, but Cox's second against Uruguay gave him 11, the 1954 scoring title. Uruguay's first World Cup defeat ended one mythology. Hungary's victory strengthened another, but the favorite had required two violent, exhausting, extra-time level battles to reach Bern. West Germany was moving through the other half of the bracket with increasing control. West Germany beat Yugoslavia 2-0, then overwhelmed Austria 6-1. Herberger's side was not a collection of anonymous underdogs. Fritz Walter was a gifted playmaker and captain. His brother Otmar led the line. Helmut Rahn supplied power from the right. Max Morlock attacked central spaces, and goalkeeper Tony Turek had survived the difficult early years of German football's return. Herberger was obsessive about detail. He had observed Hungary in the group defeat, rested players, and shaped a system that could deny central combinations and counter quickly. Equipment mattered too. Adi Dassler supplied boots with interchangeable screw-in studs, allowing players to adapt their grip as the final turned wet. The boots didn't score the goals, but in a match decided by balance and footing, preparation became visible technology. The weather carried emotional meaning. Fritz Walter was known to prefer rain, partly because he had suffered malaria during the war and found extreme heat difficult. Germans called wet conditions Fritz Walter Wetter. When clouds gathered over Bern, the favorite saw inconvenience. The underdog saw familiarity. Puskas had missed 2 matches. For the final, Sebes brought his captain back. The decision was understandable. This was the country's defining match, and Puskas was its defining player. But he was not fully fit. His movement could still damage Germany. His ankle could not guarantee 90 minutes. Hungary also carried strategic confidence from the 8-3 group match. That score created evidence and illusion. It proved Hungary could overwhelm Germany, but it had come against a changed German lineup in different conditions. Herberger had seen Hungary's movements at full speed. Sebes had not seen the German final team under final pressure. At the Wankdorf, 62,500 spectators watched the captains meet. Rain fell. The pitch grew heavy. For radio listeners, Herbert Zimmermann's German commentary and György Szepesi's Hungarian call would become national memory. For television viewers, the World Cup final became an image people could remember seeing, not only hearing. In the 6th minute, Hidekuti's shot deflected into Puskas's path. The captain finished left-footed. 2 minutes later, Turek and Werner Kohlmeier failed to control a ball near goal, and Sebor scored. Hungary led 2-0 after 8 minutes. The expected coronation had arrived early. West Germany did not collapse. In the 10th minute, Rahn drove a low ball across goal and Morlock slid in. 2-1. In the 18th, goalkeeper Grosix failed to claim a corner under pressure, and Rahn scored at the far post. 2-2. 4 goals had arrived before the match had time to become tactical. The equalizer changed the emotional burden. Hungary was still the stronger attacking team, but the certainty created by 4 unbeaten years had vanished in 10 minutes. Germany now had proof that the score from Basel belonged to another day. Hungary attacked repeatedly. Turek saved from Cox's, Hidekuti, and Puskas. Kohlmeier cleared from the goal line. Hidekuti struck the post. Germany defended in layers and looked for Rahn whenever it escaped. The final was not a story of Hungary suddenly becoming ordinary. It remained dangerous almost every time it advanced. Fatigue and conditions narrowed the difference. Hungary's previous 2 matches had demanded far more than Germany's. Puskas could create but could not press or accelerate normally. The wet field slowed combinations and rewarded direct play. Germany's replaceable studs offered practical grip. None of these details alone explains the score. Together they explain how an underdog stayed alive long enough for one moment to matter. The political meaning came later. On the field, the match was still brutally simple. The favorite could not convert another chance, and the underdog refused to disappear. In the 84th minute, Hans Schäfer crossed from the left. Hungary failed to clear. The ball reached Rahn outside the penalty area. He shaped as if to shoot with his right, shifted onto his left, and drove the ball through defenders into the corner. West Germany led 3-2. Zimmermann's radio call became inseparable from the goal. Puskas answered almost immediately, running through and scoring, but the flag was raised for offside. The decision remains argued over in slow-motion replays that did not exist for the referee. Turek made another late save. William Ling blew the whistle. West Germany was world champion. The result was statistically astonishing. Hungary scored 27 goals in 5 matches, a record 5.4 per game, and lost only the final. West Germany became the first champion to lose a match during the tournament, and it defeated the same opponent that had beaten it by 5 goals 16 days earlier. At the presentation, FIFA President Jules Rimet handed the trophy to Fritz Walter. It was the last World Cup ceremony for the man whose name the cup carried. Rimet had presided over the competition from its uncertain beginning in 1930 to an event now crossing borders by television. The old administrator and the new medium occupied the same frame. The final later acquired a medical controversy. Several German players developed jaundice after the tournament. Team doctor Franz Lugan acknowledged giving injections, but said they contained vitamin C. Later, historical research raised the possibility that players received stimulants, including methamphetamine, but no definitive surviving test proves what was administered to the 1954 team. The responsible conclusion is neither to erase the allegation nor to present it as settled fact. Anti-doping controls did not exist at the World Cup in 1954. Injection practices created infection risks, and post-war sport operated with medical standards very different from today's. The record supports suspicion and debate, not a confident verdict. This distinction matters because controversy can become an easy explanation for a difficult result. Germany's tactical preparation, Turek's saves, Rahn's finishing, Hungary's fatigue, Puskas's injury, and the weather are documented inside the match. Medical uncertainty belongs in the story, but it should not replace the football. For West Germany, victory became a symbol of recovery 9 years after the defeat of Nazi Germany. Millions heard the final on radio, and television sales rose as the new medium made the tournament visible. Later generations describe Bern as a moment when West Germans felt permitted to say "we" again. That interpretation must be handled carefully. A football victory did not repair war crimes, displacement, or division. It did offer a democratic post-war society, a shared public memory not built around military power. The team itself represented a complicated country, not a clean rebirth. German football institutions had their own continuities and exclusions to confront. National pride after catastrophe is never politically neutral. Bern became meaningful precisely because people attached hopes to it that 11 players could not fully carry. For Hungary, defeat was a national wound. The players returned to anger and official scrutiny. 2 years later, the Hungarian uprising against Soviet control changed their lives. Puskas, Csibor, and Kocsis eventually left the country and built new careers abroad. The Golden Team's failure in Bern became inseparable from the loss of a political and football world that would never be reconstructed. The defeat should not be allowed to consume Hungary's achievement. Sabes' team influenced pressing, positional interchange, false nine movement, and the use of a goalkeeper as an extra field player. Coaches across Europe studied the 6-3 victory at Wembley and the movement seen in Switzerland. Hungary did not take home the trophy, but football took home Hungary's ideas. Switzerland 1954 gave the World Cup television tactical modernity, impossible scorelines, and perhaps its greatest upset. Kocsis scored 11 goals. Hungary scored 27. Austria and Switzerland produced 12 in one match. The tournament averaged more than 5 goals a game, yet its permanent image is one shot in the rain. That is the beauty and the violence of a World Cup. It does not always identify the best team across 4 years. It identifies the team that survives the match in front of it. Hungary changed football and lost. West Germany prepared for the conditions, stayed close, and won. Both statements can be true without diminishing either side. Every World Cup tells the story of its time. In 1954, post-war Europe saw itself through a new television screen. The favorite showed where football was going. The underdog showed why history never arrives on schedule. End card. Next, Episode 6, Sweden, 1958,